On a tranquil morning by the Colorado River lies a secret that could overturn human history. In 1909, explorer Kincaid unexpectedly discovered a mysterious underground city deep within the Grand Canyon, its grandeur and mystery far beyond our imagination. This is a story where truth and legend intertwine, where science clashes with the mystical, lost civilizations, ancient symbols, and even hints of Egyptian and Eastern cultures. Is this subterranean kingdom the truth of history, or a carefully woven lie? Join us as we unveil the mysterious veil of the Grand Canyon's underground Egyptian city and explore the secrets hidden for over a century. Remember to subscribe and ring the notification bell to get the latest revelations first, and share your thoughts and theories in the comments. Let's explore this unknown legend together. In that silent, serene morning, the Colorado River flowed like a silent serpent, winding quietly through the breathtaking and picturesque Grand Canyon. The river's surface reflected the faint morning light, its ripples subtle yet mysterious, as if whispering, "Here lies an ancient secret." In the spring of 1909, an explorer named Kincaid paddled his slender wooden boat as usual, hoping to find mineral resources in this desolate land. But little did he expect that he was about to open a door to a prehistoric civilization that would shake the world. In a secluded spot about 40 to 42 miles upstream from the famous Tover tourist site, the Colorado River quietly flows past the towering cliffs of Marble Canyon, a place that should have been a world apart, isolated and silent. Yet Kincaid's eyes were irresistibly drawn to an unusual mark, a pale red stain on the rock face, spreading irregularly across the cliff like blood or ink. It was neither the common oxidation of minerals nor a natural pattern formed by years of weathering, but seemed more like the trace of some long-lost ritual. Without hesitation, Kincaid put down his boat, slung his tools over his shoulder, and began to climb the nearly 2,000-foot vertical cliff with his bare hands. The wind tossed his body like a fallen leaf. Beneath him the canyon dropped into an unfathomable abyss. Above him stretched endless layers of rock. Clutching the crevices tightly, he reminded himself, this is not madness, but a calling. Finally, in a shadowed recess midway up the cliff, he found an entrance almost swallowed by time. A narrow, dark opening that resembled the gaping throat of some giant beast. Clutching his rifle tightly, he stepped cautiously into the darkness. The air inside the cave was cold and damp, and the silence was so complete that all he could hear was the rapid pounding of his own heartbeat. But the moment he fully entered the cavern, he was stunned by what lay before him. This was no simple natural cave. Instead, it was a wide, straight main passage about 12 feet across. The walls were polished almost perfectly flat, as if cut with a technology far beyond its time. The rock surface was no longer rough, but smooth like a mirror, reflecting a faint, eerie glow. Even more astonishingly, on both sides of this main corridor sprawled a labyrinth of branching tunnels. Some corridors were so wide they could accommodate hundreds of people walking side by side, while others were narrow, barely wide enough for a single person to squeeze through sideways. These passages intertwined and stretched deep into the earth, seemingly without end. In the dim light, he caught glimpses of metallic gleams flickering on some of the walls. What could it be? Treasure? Ancient machinery? Or an unknown mineral yet to be named? In his later reports, Kincaid did not hide his shock and excitement. He wrote, "The entire underground city is capable of housing 50,000 people. Such a scale is unparalleled in human history. It far exceeds any known Native American settlements in North America and is incomparable even to modern underground structures." This was no exaggeration. The tunnels were not only orderly, but also featured ventilation and drainage systems. The walls were engraved with countless hieroglyphs and totemic symbols, making one wonder if this place had once been the heart of a highly advanced civilization. At that moment, Kincaid felt less like an explorer and more like a mortal who had accidentally trespassed into a divine sanctuary. He was awestruck and filled with reverence, yet unable to turn away. He began to realize that what he had uncovered was not merely ruins, but a massive enigma that could overturn the entire human historical narrative, an underground kingdom deliberately hidden away in the shadows of history. But what truly astonished Kincaid was yet to come. When he stepped into the vast chamber he called the Great Hall, it felt as though he had crossed into another dimension. His footsteps echoed across the expansive stone floor, and the air was thick with a blend of ancient dust and dry spices, a scent not found in natural caves. At the center of the room stood a massive stone statue seated in a lotus position, holding a lotus flower in one hand and a lily in the other. The statue's posture was solemn and sacred, as if silently gazing upon the stranger who had arrived millennia later. Kincaid held his breath. The facial features of the statue did not resemble those of Native American cultures, but bore distinct Eastern characteristics: almond-shaped eyes, a well-defined nose, and subtly curved lips. It seemed to share a distant kinship with Egyptian deities, yet its unique and blended style defied classification within any known culture. He described the statue as a traveler from across time, embodying an ancient wisdom long lost to history. Surrounding the statue were numerous stone tablets and broken pottery shards covered in mysterious hieroglyphics. These symbols were intricately detailed, some resembling ancient Egyptian sacred scripts, others akin to Sumerian cuneiform, yet all arranged with a unique logic and structure, as if belonging to an undeciphered civilization's writing system. Each shard, each carved stroke, seemed to whisper forgotten epic myths to those who would come after. As Kincaid ventured deeper into the cave, his discoveries became increasingly bizarre. The entire underground complex appeared not merely as a living space, but more like a city combining religious rituals and military functions. In a side chamber, he found a vast collection of metal artifacts, swords, shields, helmets, and other weapons and armor, each fashioned with strange designs and smooth lines. These were neither modern crafts nor primitive castings, but products of an ancient yet extraordinarily advanced smelting technique. The metals bore a mysterious gray-silver sheen, cold and hard as steel. Some modern researchers have even speculated that their alloy may contain rare elements unknown to humanity today. Even more chillingly, Kincaid discovered dozens of mummies in a sealed burial chamber. These bodies were neatly arranged, resting like an army in formation. All were adult males of towering, robust build. One stood an astonishing 9 feet tall, with a massive skeleton, broad shoulders, and a narrow waist, almost beyond the scope of modern human proportions. The mummies were wrapped in thick, dark-colored clay, and some were tightly bound in fabric seemingly woven from plant fibers, preserving them in an uncanny state of completeness, as if they had merely fallen into a deep sleep rather than passed away. All of this led Kincaid to boldly propose a stunning hypothesis. This underground city was not a product of indigenous North American cultures, but was built by an ancient civilization that migrated from afar. He speculated they might have come from ancient Egypt or even as far as Tibet, fleeing an extinction-level catastrophe, crossing oceans, and ultimately choosing the remote, geologically concealed land of the Grand Canyon to settle. This subterranean city may have been their last refuge, their final sanctuary of history and faith. However, just as this seemed poised to become world-shaking evidence, an even stranger mystery quietly unfolded. On April 5, 1909, the front page of the Arizona Gazette published a stunning report. Kincaid had discovered a subterranean Egyptian city deep within the Grand Canyon, resembling something straight out of an epic novel. This should have been the most sensational news headline of the time, igniting a nationwide archaeological frenzy and even rewriting the history textbooks of North America. However, unexpectedly, after the initial shockwave, the story quickly faded like a shooting star, No follow-up reports, no media investigations, no archaeological expeditions, and even the local government made little to no comment. Even more puzzling is that the authoritative institution Kincaid mentioned, the Smithsonian Institution, not only never issued any statement regarding the matter, but also repeatedly denied having any connection with Kincaid. It wasn't until 2006 that a group of concerned independent researchers formally contacted the Smithsonian's Anthropology Department, requesting an investigation into related documents. The institution's response was chillingly brief. "We have reviewed all archives and found no records of Georgie, Kincaid, or any information related to a lost Egyptian civilization in Arizona." It was as if the entire event had never occurred. The photographs Kincaid claimed to have taken, the artifacts he collected, and even the coordinate records all mysteriously vanished after the report was published, with not a single piece verifiable or traceable by later researchers. The only tangible evidence remaining from the whole affair is that one newspaper article from 1909. As skeptics began to suggest that this might simply be a case of Golden Age newspaper fabrication or some kind of publicity stunt, an even stranger phenomenon started to emerge. Modern researchers, by comparing maps from National Geographic and the U.S. Geological Survey, discover that the Grand Canyon and its surrounding terrain, mountain peaks, gorges, and isolated rock pillars, bear a surprising series of names: Temple of Isis, Temple of Osiris, Ra's Ziggurat, Buddha Temple, Shiva's Throne. These names were not invented by recent internet users, but are officially marked on government maps and have been in use to this day. So the question arises, why do these natural and vast landforms bear so many names drawn from ancient Egyptian, Hindu, Buddhist, and other Eastern mystical cultures? Does this imply that these civilizations once visited North America? Or is it that someone deliberately named them this way to create certain associations? The answer is actually not so mysterious. It can be traced back to the historical context of the late 19th century, during the height of Western fascination with ancient Egypt and mysticism, known as Egyptomania. The person responsible for naming these geographical features was none other than Sir John Wesley Powell and the geological exploration team he led. Powell was not only the first director of the U.S. Geological Survey, but also one of the founders of the Smithsonian Institution's Bureau of Ethnology. In 1869, he led an expedition deep into the Grand Canyon, and inspired by romantic admiration for Eastern civilizations, he named these magnificent natural wonders after Isis, Osiris, Buddha, and others, not because of any archaeological evidence, but purely as a cultural tribute and poetic projection. This style of naming was very popular at the time, almost a fashion trend, much like how modern cafes might be named Galileo or Einstein. These names themselves carry no archaeological basis, but add a layer of mystique to the grandeur of nature. However, this also planted the seeds for many conspiracy theories and urban legends later on. After all, when you see a whole row of peaks named after Egyptian mythology on a map, and then hear stories about mysterious Egyptian underground cities discovered in the same region, it's hard not to wonder if there's some hidden connection being covered up. Even more intriguing is that although G. Kincaid claimed to have been funded by America's most authoritative museum, the Smithsonian Institution, in that controversial report, he mistakenly referred to the institution as the Smithsonian Institute. At first glance, this seems like a simple typographical error. However, for an explorer who claimed to have received support and personally collaborated with the institution, such a basic mistake casts a heavy shadow over the entire story's credibility. It's like someone claiming they were invited to speak at the White House, but writing it as the White Horse, instantly destroying their persuasive power. Even stranger, the only historical figure who ever publicly commented on this report was Joe Mahatan, known as the Monster of the Press. He was a notorious 19th-century media con artist famous for crafting sensational but utterly baseless news stories. Whether it was underground pyramids, treasure maps, or ancient astronaut relics, if readers bought it, he could fabricate it, The New York Times even criticized him for spreading countless fictitious tales across newspapers nationwide, leaving reporters chasing leads only to come up empty-handed, causing headaches throughout the journalism industry. He was dubbed the Penno of the 19th century, a famous fabricator of sensational news, and sparked a wave of editorials pushing for reform and debates on journalistic integrity. Therefore, when Kincaid's story intersected with Joe Mahatan's commentary, the shadow grew even darker. Many historians believe this was likely just another work of art from Mahatan's pen, a sensational but entirely fabricated report. Consequently, the entire narrative of the underground city has been classified as a journalistic urban legend. However, the line between history and legend is often not easily measured. Interestingly, although mainstream archaeologists, cultural resource managers of the Grand Canyon National Park, and several geography experts unanimously agree that this is a carefully concocted myth, this has not stopped many people from embracing the story with enthusiasm and imagination. Some fringe scholars even propose alternative views. Kincaid's tale might not be entirely fabricated. It could have originated from some now-lost indigenous oral traditions, or be a distorted reflection of an ancient subterranean culture memory. They argue that despite its exaggerated details and lack of empirical evidence, the story still reflects humanity's subconscious yearning for the underground world and lost civilizations. With the advent of the internet era, this almost absurd legend has experienced a resurgence. On social platforms like Reddit, YouTube, 4chan, and X, formerly Twitter, the Grand Canyon underground Egyptian city is frequently discussed and debated. Whenever a content creator posts a video about a Smithsonian conspiracy, this legend spreads like a virus in the comment sections, sparking arguments such as Kincaid was real, and they covered it all up. Users share photos of scanned old newspaper clippings, compare satellite maps with the anciently named peaks, and present various clues that cannot be verified or disproven. This kind of rebirth is no coincidence. It reveals a phenomenon of our time. In an information-overloaded and truth-blurred online society, people's trust and authority has gradually eroded, turning instead to narratives that are more dramatic and mysterious. Kincaid's story perfectly combines the 5 core elements of mystery: loss, suppression, conspiracy, and archaeology, making it a universal legend among conspiracy enthusiasts and spiritual seekers. Its logic does not need to be perfect. As long as it's suspenseful enough, it ignites imagination and reaches that soft corner of the human spirit that yearns to explore the unknown. Exactly. The true magic of this story may not lie in whether it is true or false, but in how it stirs the romantic longing deep within us for the unknown world. To this day, no one can definitively prove that G. Kincaid ever existed. No expedition has successfully found the mysterious caves he described, and no museum displays any artifacts or remains from the so-called Grand Canyon underground Egyptian civilization. Yet, no one can confidently declare, this is absolutely impossible. It is like an archaeological urban legend, half true, half false, half dream, half reality, perfectly lodged in the gray area between history and myth. To skeptics, it is a fanciful illusion unworthy of attention. But to some dreamers, it is an unfinished story, the 8th page of a world yet to be unveiled. This also perfectly reflects our contradictory attitude toward history. We rely on science and evidence, yearning to find the truth. Yet at the same time, we cannot resist legends that break the mold and overturn textbook narratives, especially when these stories involve lost civilizations, hidden histories, or forbidden technologies. They stir our imagination about conspiracies, miracles, and the future of humanity. Kincaid's story has thus survived, beyond the cold, factual timelines of history, beyond skyscrapers and glowing screens, living on in mysterious Reddit forums, conspiracy channels on YouTube, and in some corner of curious travelers' hearts. It is not a proven piece of history, but a mirror reflecting our deepest desires, the hope that the world still holds undiscovered wonders, that reality is more than just computers and spreadsheets, and that behind the rock walls lies a gateway to another time and space. Next time you stand at the edge of the Grand Canyon, with the wind brushing past your ears and the sun casting its light on rock layers millions of years old, try to let your heart relax a little. Who knows? Perhaps behind those silent cliffs lies a passage to the unknown, a lost chamber, a statue of a deity, or a 9-foot-tall giant mummy, waiting for the next traveler filled with awe and curiosity to discover and listen. After all, aren't we all searching for something? Whether it's history, miracles, or the stories themselves, humanity's passion for exploration has never faded. Just like the roaring Colorado River at the canyon's base, rushing day and night, unknown where it leads, yet never ceasing. Thank you for joining us on this mysterious journey through time and space. Is Kincaid and his underground Egyptian city a historical enigma or a hidden truth? If you enjoy stories about lost civilizations and conspiracy explorations, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends. Let's bring more people along on this adventure into the unknown. Leave us a comment and tell us, do you think this story is real or fiction? Or if you know other mysterious archaeological tales, feel free to share them too. See you in the next episode, where we'll continue uncovering more astonishing historical secrets. Exploration never stops, and wonder is always just around the corner.